how to make a project structure that is really scalable and can fit any sort of project. So we were talking about that topic, and this is part 2 of that continuation of that series. So let's go ahead and see what we did last time and build on top of that. Okay. So if we see, last time we had the concept of global parts and local parts. If you haven't watched the first part of this series, then please go ahead, because if you haven't watched the first part, you will not be able to understand anything that I explain in this part 2. So please go ahead and watch the part 1. Then this video will make a lot more sense to you. Okay, so we cleared the concept of global parts and local parts, right? Now let's take a real life example and resolve this. So let's say this is our, I'm talking about a real example in terms like I'm building a real app here, right? So no more, what can I say, like arbitrary terms. Let's take proper terms. So let's say I am building a user portal, for example, right? And in that user portal, let's say I'm gonna explain it only for one route, for one case, because as I mentioned in the first part, it will keep on repeating in every single cases, in every single route, in every single different use cases, right? So let's say we have a user portal. This is the whole app, right? This is whole app, or let's say user control center, let's say. Okay, and this is the whole app. Now in that we have a login, or let's say we have an auth page. Okay, right, good. Now in this auth page, what things are there which are gonna be global and what things are there which are gonna be local? So let's say this is auth page. Okay, now the things that are gonna be global in that auth page, let's further divide it. Let's further divide it into small stuff. Let's say inside auth page I have login, and then I have sign up, and then I have, let's say, forgot password. And actually it will be better if I just show it in a larger view first before going to this. Let's say we have auth page, we have dashboard, we have settings. Let's say these three are different pages: dashboard page, and then we have settings page. I wanted to go to pages first, then I will come here. Okay, so this one, let's skip it side a bit. We will need this after some time. So if we think in terms of global and local, so global parts for all of this page will be, let's say we have something called, let's say navigation. Right, so let's say top navigation, just to explain it. Top navigation, that is common for auth page as well, dashboard page as well, settings as well. And also we have, let's say, footer. So these two can go under global, it is, okay, square brackets, right? Okay, so yes, okay. Now this one can go into, let's say, global. So this is global. Okay, now we have local parts for all of these pages. I'm basically saying for all of these pages, obviously local we will have a lot of things, right? So let's say for local we have, let's say, auth page has validations, something, let's say dashboard, dashboard, dashboard has, let's say, charts, and then let's say your settings page have user permissions. Let's say I'm just showing like the different sort of local parts that can, or local logic that can have in each of the pages. Okay, so sounds clear so far? Now let's take this a bit far. So from a app perspective, from different pages, let's come down to a single page. So now we are talking about a single, let's say, page, and in this page now we have, let's say, different sorts of parts. Let's call them sorry, here only it will come. I already have this, let's say this. Wait, what? It should come into front, right? Yes, okay. Now let's say that. Okay. Now, like this is this is like the perspective, the center, and then after that, under that, whatever nested things are there, and this is their global and local part. So similarly, I have this page, and then I am dividing it into these 3 components. And then in each component level, we can have this same architecture again, repeating. And what I am repeating right now, let's say I am saying that for each of these, the global part is, let's say, the form layout, or maybe let's say the UI validation, sorry, input validations. So what I mean by that is the email validation that is gonna be there in login is gonna be same in sign up, is gonna be the same in forgot password. So different sorts of validation logic that you are gonna use, most probably you will share in between all of the components. The reason is they are gonna be same, and if you update in one place, it's better that you keep it consistent in other components as well. So, and obviously the way they will look. So because most of the people, what they do is they show a center card design with all of the details in there, like for login or sign up, something like that. So that's why I kept them in global. And in local, let's say we have for local we have, let's say, API calls. Obviously API calls are going to be different for login, sign up, forgot password, right? And then let's say we have, what else is local? Let's say we have icons. What I mean by icons is, let's say we have sign in using social media. So let's say in login and sign up, we are showing only Google icon, Microsoft icon, but in forgot password, we are not showing it like that, let's say, right? And then let's say we have something called specific modules. Let's say we have, what can I think of? What can I think of? Let's say we have pop-ups, let's say. Now, what do I mean by pop-ups? Let's say in login and sign up, because they are new users or returning users, you are showing some sort of new offers, animations or something like that, but in forgot password you are not showing. So let's say just arbitrarily we are saying there are some sort of pop-ups, right? Okay, now let's divide it further. So we have already divided the authentication page into login, sign up and forgot password. So you can think each of them are their own folders, are their own components, right? But if I take just login, just take this architecture, replicate it, and I'm talking just the login, then what will happen is you will see inside login I can have a small reusable component called form, and then let's say not form, let's say inputs, because in login let's say there are different, okay, let's first write it and then I will say, and then I have, let's say, button, and then let's say I have what else buttons, and let's say card, something like that. Not buttons or card, let's say actions, let's say inputs, yes, actions, and then let's say we have something like what else rules, let's say, or let's say not rules. Okay, let's keep it in these two only, because right now I can think of these two. If you have different use case or different component, then the list will grow, but let's say these two. What I mean by this is input and actions. By actions I mean to say you can have in login page, you can have actions like submit, you can have actions like forgot password, you can have action like verify, or you can have actions like, let's say, sign up. All of these actions, basically like clickable buttons or something, can stay in actions. And then inputs, let's say you have in inputs you can have something like, let's say, your name, then you have your address, then you have your email, your password, something like that. Now what will be the global in between these? So the global part will be, let's say, oh sorry, why did I, let's say you have UI elements. What do I mean by UI elements? Let's say the input forms, the labels, the buttons, they will be common in between them, right? But let's say in local, what can you have is, let's say in local, obviously the actual function logic, local function logic. Now, why do I said local function logic? Because some things can be common. For example, let's say in between these two, you are using some sort of string manipulation. Oh, sorry, not sort of. Let's say you are doing some sort of helper function. And in that helper function, what you are trying to do is, in that particular helper function, you are validating the inputs. Now, let me just clarify it so that it's easier to understand. What do I mean by this? You can have, let's say, a name field. So let's just take it from here. You can have a name field where you have given on change, where there is a validation to make sure that invalid characters are not typed, but at the same time you can have this particular validation in your submit as well. Or let's say not on change, let's say let's be more specific. On change you are checking which what we say that which criterias are met. So for example, let's say you will have criterias like if it contains, the name contains any number or not, or let's say it contains only alphabets or not. So you are checking different sort of criteria. Remember, in all of, like in different cases, we have input fields that have tick marks or like points under that input, and once you keep on typing, they turn green or they show indication, a tick mark, that it has fulfilled that criteria. So something like that. And maybe you are using that same sort of validation logic, that same input, that same helper function on submit as well, to validate that the data which is coming and the data that you are sending in the API is perfectly fine. So let's say you are sharing a common helper function for this. Helper function is shared in between them, right? So that is why I kept the helper function and validating in between the submit action as well, and in between the input as well. But in local function logic, let's say you have something like API calls, let's say, or let's say something like you have a particular toast that you are showing, that they can be local. So from this only you can understand that each of layer, like this is our top layer, then our intermediate, then our like down to the smallest layer, and we can keep on going, but all of them will have something which is global dependency, something which is local dependency. Why it is important to keep this in mind? It becomes very easy for us to organize our project in this particular manner. How? What I usually do is I will end up putting things in one place which makes sense to be together, and other things in other places. So what I will do is, let's say let's say we zoom here, and we are showing the file list that is coming at the bottom. So let's say let's turn this thing to to just denote that this is the actual folder name that I am showing. So let's say I have app. Under app I have a folder. These green are folders, and this is also folder. So let's say I have auth folder, and then let's just write this as well. So green is folder, and then I can use, let's say, the red for files, and this is folders. Okay, so under app we have auth, we have dashboard, and we have settings. These will be the folders. But under this I will have, sorry, why am I taking this? Under this I will have something called, or it's better, instead of apps, let's call it routes. Yes, instead of, and app will be, let's say, on a bigger level, something like here, and let's make it blue. So this is app level. Okay, and under routes in the same level we have, let's say, constants. These are all folders. Okay, so far and let's keep this small dashboard. I'm just to make sure, this is almost, you can say, how a Next.js project is structured. Usually you can replicate this structure in other apps as well, but depending on your programming language, depending on your specific projects, this architecture may change a little bit, but the principle should stay the same. Okay, so in this routes level, we have our different folders for different routes. Then we have constants, then we have, let's say, helpers, then let's say we have utils, then let's say we have hooks, or let's say we have services, something like that. Now each of these, let's just take an arrow and make sure it is green. Wait, what? Arrow, take this straight. Why is the arrow not coming? Line, arrow. Is it the thickness, or what did I do wrong? Oh, it is coming, but actually it is like very thin. Okay, that is unusual, but oh well, forget about it. Anyway, it's not needed. Let's just take this thing only and just show it like this. Okay, so let's say this we are taking here. Yes, and let's say we are taking this here. Okay, and then we are taking this here. Okay, let's do that. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so why I structured in this way? So inside each of these we can have files. Just okay, let's do it in the other side. So in this side, let's say in this side, yes, and like that. So each of these we can have something like files. Let's say I'm saying time.ts. Let's say I am saying constants tan. This is, I'm naming it like this. It doesn't mean that it is the name of the actual file. I'm just saying to make it clear. I'm just writing to make it clear that under each of these there can be files like this, services.ts, and each of these are actually files, right? So under these are folders. So under constant there can be a file called constant.ts, under helper there can be helper.ts, under utils there can be util.ts, under hooks.ts, or something like that. Now it can be abcd, whatever you can name it, that's up to you, but I just wrote it to denote that whatever folder, like whatever file is inside whatever folder. Okay, now what is the difference? The difference is these constants or these helpers or these utils are gonna get used in multiple routes. It's not that they are getting used by a single route, or it's not that they are getting used by routes only. There can be, let's say you have your front end and back end. So let's say this is your front end. So let's say this is your front end and some code you have written which is here, let's say for your back end, right? And what I'm saying is these files are getting used here as well. So let's just rotate this. So they are getting used here as well, and they are getting used here as well. It doesn't have to be front end or back end. I just mean to say the basic concept is these particular, like the app level folders, whatever are there, they are on top because they are gonna get used in all of the childs whatever is inside different sorts of folder. Okay, that's the concept. Now if I come specifically to, let's say, auth page. Now in auth page, I might have something called, let's say in auth page, I take this structure only. Actually, let's just copy this whole thing, because this whole thing is gonna repeat anyway. Trust me, this whole thing is gonna repeat. Sorry. So yes, let's just take this whole thing, take this, and what we will do is this auth page will have login folder, will have a sign up folder, and then we'll have, let's say, what can I say, forgot password. Okay, now all of them are living under one label. Then let's say this is the label. Okay, and this let's say this is something like this. Okay, what I mean to show is these are all in one label, and this this constants, helper, util, they are getting used in all of these different components. But then you can again take another, let's say, login, and you can again subdivide it into like this. So what I mean, what is the, you can see the folder names, like the folder names are the same, the file names can be different. So let's say this one is 1, something like that, this one is 2, this one is 3, 4. What I mean to say is you can name them according to however you like. That's not the issue, right? The only thing that I want to denote is they are in different labels, but their folder name is the same. 12, 13, 14, 15, let's say. So what happened is this file name, folder names are the same. Okay, as you can see, these folder names are gonna stay the same. The file names inside that can be same, can be different, depending on different situations. Then why did we divide it? We are only keeping stuff here that are getting used in in all or in most of these routes. It cannot be only in one. If it is only in one, then I'm putting it inside. That's the logic that I'm following. That, okay, let's say I have a logic which is time converter, let's say. So let's say I came here and I have a logic for time converter. Now this time converter is getting, or let's say string converter, not time converter, string converter. Let's say the string converter is getting used in either multiple or all of these routes. Then the string converter is gonna stay in this route, like in this parent level. But let's say I have something called validation, or let's say I have something called pop-up, and that pop-up is getting used only inside, let's say, settings. Then it is not gonna stay inside this route, this like top level. It is gonna go inside this, like this settings, inside the settings route, and they will stay there. Okay, so with this concept, you can understand that how am I dividing the global and the local components. The global components are those which are getting used in multiple or all of the different components in the child, and the local means that are getting used in one place. So if you come here inside this login, let's say all of this means these constants or these helpers or these hooks are getting used in multiple of these login, sign up and forgot password component, but this one is gonna get used only in login. Similarly, we will have similar something like this which is only getting used in sign up. Please do not make the mistake of creating all of the folder. What I mean by that, it can happen that inside login you don't have constant. Maybe let's say you have only helpers and utils. That is perfectly okay. I don't mean to say that you need to replicate all of the folders even if there is nothing to keep there. That's not what I'm saying. I'm only trying to show what is the access level for each of the files, whatever is each of the functions doing. That's the only thing that I want to show, right? So this is, let's say, a summary of our second part of the video, which is based on the global and local architecture. What we did is we architected the files in such a way, and we also created the folder in such a way that clearly shows us which access level those files or those folders are living into. So if they are into the parent, that means a lot of the childs are going to use those particular files inside those particular folders. But if they are under specific route, that means the parents are not going to use that. Only the child and the subchilds are going to use it, right? So that's the second part of the video. And if you have any questions so far, let me know, because I know this can be a little bit confusing. I can assure you in the next part, this is going to get really clear, because in the next part, I'm going to show you an actual front-end project, an actual back-end project with the real folder structure on the left-hand side, where you will be able to see all of this theory in action. So please make sure you stick to that point. And if you have any questions so far, let me know. I will be more than happy to answer all of your questions. And obviously, if you have something which I have not covered in this particular theoretical method, which you think can be added in this particular scenario as well, definitely share your opinion, because that will also help our listeners to clarify their doubts as well. So till the next video, thank you everyone.